Tonight, election fiasco, the latest in the legal wrangling after Georgia's completed hand recount. Plus, blame game.
We still have the power of the majority.
The fallout over Democrats' Election Day losses. And expansionist Middle East agenda, why Turkey is setting its sights on Israel. All this and more tonight on Faith Nation. Charges of stealing the election. Welcome to Faith Nation. I'm John Jessup. Well, those renewed claims coming from the Trump campaign, the president and his legal team point to what they describe as clear evidence of a national plan to steal the election in several states. CBN's Dale Hurd kicks us off with tonight's top story.
The biggest complaint by the mainstream media and the Biden campaign about the Trump campaign's claim of election fraud has been the lack of evidence. Today, the Trump legal team brought the evidence. Hundreds of sworn affidavits from poll watchers alleging voting irregularities and outright cheating. 220 sworn affidavits from Michigan alone.
Because there's not a singular voter fraud in one state. This pattern repeats itself in a number of states. Almost exactly the same pattern. Why wouldn't you allow inspections of those ballots? Because you knew you were going to use those ballots to catch Biden up.
And Trump attorney Rudy Giuliani took the media to task for its coverage of the story.
You keep reporting falsely that we have no evidence, that we have no specific acts of fraud. That's because the coverage of this has been almost as dishonest as the scheme itself.
Giuliani also announced the Trump campaign has withdrawn its lawsuit in Michigan after achieving the relief it sought to stop the election in Wayne County from being prematurely certified before residents can be assured that every legal vote has been counted and every illegal vote has not been counted. This after two Republican members of the Wayne County Board of Canvassers in Detroit rescinded their votes to certify the election results, saying they were bullied into changing their original votes and that state officials refused to conduct an audit. Giuliani says a major lawsuit over voting irregularities will be filed tomorrow in Georgia, and a suit will also be brought in Arizona, and there will be a recount in Wisconsin. Meanwhile, Joe Biden says the Trump administration continues to bar his team from accessing what he calls crucial coronavirus data for what Joe Biden believes will be his incoming administration.
There's a whole lot of things that we just don't have available to us, which unless it's made available soon, we're going to be behind by weeks or months.
Time is running out for the Trump campaign. By law, court challenges and recounts have to be wrapped up and elections certified before the Electoral College meets on December 14th. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
All right, thank you, Dale. Well, for more on this story, we now turn to David Brody, CBN chief political analyst. David, with what the Trump campaign announced today, what's the likelihood these challenges get wrapped up before that December deadline Dale mentioned in his report? And David, secondly, will it be enough to change the result?
Well, John, here's the truthful answer. We don't know, and that's an answer to both parts of your question. We don't know if it's going to get wrapped up by the 14th or not. And of course, as you imagine, John, here, if it does not get wrapped up by December 14th, and quite frankly, December 8th, that's really the safe harbor date where electors have to be named, then we're into potentially uncharted constitutional territory here, potentially even unconstitutional territory. We don't know exactly what's going to happen. So, look, all bets are off. We just don't know. And that's what the Trump campaign was saying today, that these results have to be certified, and you're not going to certify false results. That's the way they see these results right now.
David, as Dale's reporting shows, the Trump campaign has dropped the lawsuit in Michigan. Your thoughts, though, on how things could turn out there in Michigan since the votes have yet to be certified?
Right. So, I mean, this whole thing in Wayne County is, a complete disaster. First of all, the threats that these two Republicans are getting for first saying they're not going to certify the votes. And then, of course, they had to say, wait, well, we will certify them because basically you're harassing our families. And now, of course, they're saying, OK, you know what, we're not going to certify the results. John, it is a whole big perplexing situation here. I will just say this, that it's going to go to a larger board, a state board of elections. And then remember, the governor will weigh in here, Gretchen Whitmer, who, of course, is a Democrat. So you get the sense that those results most likely somehow, some way will be certified if Gretchen Whitmer has anything to say about it. But once again, I think we're in a wait and see situation here.
Finally, David, what do you make of the charges of voter fraud in several states through voting machines? And of course, you've heard about the allegations of Dominion software. What do you make of all of this?
This is it, John. I mean, this is the ball game right here. I know everybody talks about legal strategy and voting fraud and dead people and uncured ballots. It's all, and unequal protection. It's all part of this. But the main linchpin to all of this is Dominion voting system. I mean, if what Sidney Powell said today turns out to be true, John, we could have a President Donald Trump for a second term. I'm saying if Sidney Powell says what she says is true, and what Jenna Ellis was saying today, what Sidney Powell and Giuliani were saying too, is like, hey, media, you know what? This is the part of the program where we're laying out our opening argument, and we've got to see what the evidence finally shows. So we'll see on Dominion voting systems. But boy, I tell you what, if there are some tie-ins there, I mean, they're saying they've got sworn affidavits from people in Dominion voting systems saying that this system is flawed and wrong, and they've now got to prove it. That's the key, right, John.
All right, CBN's David Brody, as always, we appreciate your insights.
You bet.
Well, growing contention over the post-election challenges. Take a listen as one Michigan canvasser in Wayne County berated two others for refusing to agree to certify the votes there, as Dale reported earlier.
That the Trump stink, the stain of racism that you, William Hartman, and Monica Palmer have just covered yourself in is going to follow you throughout history. Your grandchildren are going to think of you like Bull Connor or George Wallace. Monica Palmer and William Hartman will forever be known in southeastern Michigan as two racists who did something so unprecedented that they disenfranchised hundreds of thousands of black voters in the city of Detroit because they were ordered to. Probably, I know, Monica, you think Q told you to do it or some other crazy stuff like that.
We had asked one of those Michigan canvassers, Monica Palmer, to be on Faith Nation today to discuss what's happening there in Wayne County and to address charges of being bullied. However, she is in court over the certification. Instead, we're joined by Robin Peake, president of Republican Women for Michigan. Robin, welcome to Faith Nation.
Thank you so much for having me.
Robin, I know you've been following the situation there in Wayne County. What's your response to Ned Stabler and how he addressed Monica Palmer and her counterpart, William Hartman?
You know, ballots don't see color, and polls, there's no colors for a ballot. There's no color for a poll book. They don't see that, but they certainly tell a story. There's nothing about racism here. And there's only one reason to fear the story that they do tell. And the extremity of his response and his words that are designed to intimidate and bully tell a whole lot about what I expect we're going to find once we get a comprehensive audit.
Robin, what can you tell us about what Palmer and Hartman saw and experienced? And the second part of the question, ultimately, what got them to change their minds?
First of all, they didn't change their minds. It was an inappropriate reporting. There was always a stipulation that there would be a comprehensive audit. That was always their understanding from the get-go, that they would only certify if there was a comprehensive audit. That was always there from the beginning. The things that they experienced were absolutely horrific. I know Monica was on location 26 hours straight on November 3rd, obviously going into the 4th.
Wow.
And some of the things that they experienced, I know for her last 12 hours, she was not allowed to have any food, and she was not allowed to go to the restroom because if she walked out of the room, they would not allow her back in. She has seen Republicans, poll watchers, and verifiers, she's the challengers. She saw them dragged out of the room. She saw Democrats scream in their faces, and then when the Republican was removed, all the Democrats would stop what they were doing and cheer. it was pretty extreme.
Right.
The bullying was happening right there, even in the room on the 3rd.
Robin, real quickly, I want to change gears here. We only have a little less than a minute left. So what happens next in Wayne County, and how do you settle lingering concerns over voter integrity?
All of the rules are in place, but they're not being followed. What we need is a comprehensive audit, and it's really important to be able to regain the trust of Michiganders, and we're seeing the issues happen all across the U.S. as well. We need the comprehensive audit. Everything is going up to the state level now, and it's at our Secretary of State, and she is agreeing to only a partial audit, but certainly not a comprehensive audit at this time. So our prayer is that she will agree to a full and comprehensive audit so we can get to the bottom of this and get the poll books balanced.
All right, Robin Peake, thank you so much for your perspective and time.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Well, here in Washington, a battle is brewing in Congress, but it's not between the two parties. Democrats are at war with each other after the GOP's surprising gains in the House. My Faith Nation co-anchor Jenna Browder has this report on how moderates and progressives are involved in an awful lot of finger-pointing.
We still have the power of the majority, but on top of that, our leverage and our power is greatly enhanced by having a Democratic president in the White House.
Speaker Nancy Pelosi putting a positive spin on the outcome, while Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy claimed a decisive victory.
We won from Miami to Oklahoma City to New York to California. Not one Republican incumbent lost.
And with 17 GOP women elected to the House, McCarthy says this is the year of Republican women.
12 Democrat incumbents lost. And you know the unique thing of who they lost to? Every single Democrat either lost to a Republican woman, minority, or veteran. This is the year of the Republican women.
And that spells concern for Democrats. In this House Democratic Caucus conference call obtained by the Washington Post, moderate Democrat Abigail Spanberger from Virginia pointed her finger at talk of socialism and defunding the police.
We need to not ever use the word socialist or socialism ever again.
Congresswoman-elect Elvira Salazar says that's why she won her district in Florida.
Socialism was what made it. We know what ideology brings: misery, oppression, and exile. And my people responded. My opponent declared herself a pragmatic socialist.
The Hill's Julia Manchester on the heated in-party fighting.
The progressive agenda has always been, it's been an uphill climb for progressives in the House because, you know, as much as Republicans want to paint Nancy Pelosi as a progressive, as ultra left wing and such, she isn't. Nancy Pelosi is very much a pragmatist. So I think there's still going to be some push and pull between the establishment wing in the House, where the Nancy Pelosi or Steny Hoyer from Maryland versus, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and the squad, if you will.
In Washington, Jenna Browder, CBN News.
Vice President Mike Pence told governors this week in a conference call that the nation is prepared for a resurgence of the COVID-19 virus. Meanwhile, the country marked a new milestone this week: 250,000 deaths in America. Some health officials are warning the outbreak is overwhelming hospitals, but Pence says there are enough hospital beds to take care of sick patients. While the death rate is dropping, and that is good news, the average is still at more than 1,100 people a day. Pence also points to the progress with vaccines, including Pfizer, which is now reporting its vaccine is 95% effective.
Between this and the Moderna vaccine, it looks like we have two vaccines that are going to end up being very effective. Once they are widely deployed, it's going to make a huge difference in bringing the pandemic under control.
And meanwhile, the CDC is now encouraging Americans not to gather with extended family next week for Thanksgiving. Well, coming up, the demand on Joe Biden and other Democratic leaders for climate change priorities and what the majority of Americans think about that.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary, or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.
This is CBN News Watch.
Thanks for joining us.
Watch breaking news, exclusive stories and programs, credible news reporting.
We show you what's happening in the world and how you can pray about it.
This is CBN News Watch, because truth matters. Weekdays at 5 on the CBN News Channel.
Woohoo! Hi, Superbook fans. Here's something else you'll love. It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh, no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! Whoa!
A Millsburg Falls man come.
Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, excuse me. Ouch!
Are you getting this?
Earn super points to win daily prizes, too. And so much more! Time to get back to my adventures. See you soon! It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
Well, welcome back. The COVID and economic crises, along with the climate change, brought activists and members of Congress together in Washington today. They rallied at the DNC headquarters demanding action from Joe Biden with signs and placards declaring, "The people have spoken, and Biden be brave." The crowd heard from Representatives Ro Khanna, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and Senator Ed Markey. They want Biden to fulfill campaign promises to build back better, and they're demanding bold action on specific issues such as ending fossil fuels and racial injustice. Well, polls show Americans often rate climate change near the bottom of issues that concern them. Yet advocates of the Green New Deal say Joe Biden now has a mandate to make climate a #1 priority. CBN's Paul Strand explains why some believe he may want to ignore that call.
Climate change activists claim voters have backed plans for radical action.
We will achieve net zero emissions by 2050, carbon neutral by 2035. Joe has a plan.
But new polling indicates most Americans aren't that worried about the climate issue. James Taylor of the conservative Heartland Institute.
When Joe Biden says that he has a mandate now to aggressively act on climate change, it's simply not true.
Putting a dollar figure on their feelings, Americans in an Associated Press poll show how little they're willing to pay to cut carbon emissions.
Just barely, a majority said they would pay $1 per month. When it came to $10 per month, not even close. 3 out of 4 said they won't do it.
So what might Americans be forced to pay if an aggressive climate agenda is pursued?
Joe Biden says that he will invest $2 trillion in that. That is $20,000 per household.
And Taylor accuses Biden and his allies of lowballing what various analysts figure the real tab would be.
$10 trillion, which is $100,000 per household.
Climate activists and their allies warn Americans have to count the cost of not having something like the Green New Deal.
We spend billions of dollars now, billions of dollars on floods, hurricanes, rising seas. We're in real trouble. Look what's happened just in the Midwest with these storms that come through and wipe out entire sections and counties in Iowa. That didn't happen before. They're because of global warming.
They argue the damage from an unchecked climate by the end of this century will be shaving anywhere from 4 to 10% off America's annual gross domestic product. In other words, trillions of dollars. But is there a chance Americans could keep a major new government project out of the equation?
America has reduced its emissions more than any other nation in the world throughout this century. In fact, our emissions are now down to 1992 levels.
The Biden-Harris team have also said they want to get the U.S. right back into the Paris Climate Accord. But opponents point out that'll force unbelievably large cash contributions from an America already doing so much to battle carbon emissions, while the real polluters like China and India do little. Paul Strand, CBN News, Washington.
Thanks, Paul. Next on Faith Nation, historic meetings in the Middle East today with the Abraham Accords, what it could mean for the United States, Israel, and the rest of the world.
When I came to Regent University, it's like the world opened up. I felt like I needed to advance my career and go back to school. Regent was a perfect fit for me. The Regent professors are world class. You are equipped. The focus of the faculty is on each individual student, whether it's online or in person. You become a part of Regent's family. You carry with you not just the content and the knowledge, but the confidence to understand that we can be significant in the world.
Regent University. Follow your path.
Nigerian Christians
in Iran are routinely arrested.
Catholic Christians continue to suffer.
In times of trial and affliction, you need to know the truth.
One of the fastest growing Christian populations in the world.
Join Wendy Griffith and George Thomas for Christian World News.
Young people are the ones who are open to the gospel.
Powerful stories of suffering and hope that affect all Christians. Watch Christian World News, Saturday at 5 p.m. Get Protect Your Sleep and discover how to improve the quality of your life. A free DVD or booklet from the Christian Broadcasting Network.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
5 leading experts help remove the obstacles between you and restorative sleep.
When you don't get a restful night's sleep, you wake up with an accumulation of stress.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free DVD or booklet today.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
You'll discover how food affects your sleep, how to put insomnia to rest, explore effective remedies for sleep apnea, and much more in Protect Your Sleep. Wake up to your best life and get Protect Your Sleep today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free DVD or booklet.
Well, welcome back. New movement in the Middle East today, where the United States, Israel, and Bahrain marked the first ever trilateral meeting in Jerusalem. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met with Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and Bahrain's foreign minister in the latest milestone of the Abraham Accords. Secretary Pompeo said it sends a clear message to Iran.
These agreements also tell malign actors like the Islamic Republic of Iran that their influence in the region is waning and that they are ever more isolated, and this shall forever be until they change their direction.
The leaders discussed the exchange of embassies, increased trade, and tourism. Well, for years, Middle East observers have warned about the expansionist policies of Turkey's President Recep Erdogan. And as CBN Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell reports, those ambitions reach throughout the region all the way to Jerusalem.
Turkey is the emerging major threat to the Middle East.
Analysts like Seth Frantzman say we are witnessing a belligerent Turkey on the move.
It's invaded and ethnically cleansed Afrin of Kurds and Yazidis and Christians. It attacked last year in eastern Syria and attacked and ethnically cleansed Christians. It's attacked Armenia now. It didn't do it directly, but it basically goaded the Azerbaijanis into war. And it's also been involved in Libya. It sent Syrian mercenaries. Also, Turkey's been threatening Greece every few weeks for the last 6 months. Also, Cyprus, Israel, Egypt, the UAE. I mean, it never stops.
One advance came after a deal with Libya for its water rights in the Mediterranean Sea.
And the whole point of the deal was to basically use a very poor and weak Libyan divided government and get a deal for all this water rights, which basically mean that Turkey is now sitting astride what claims by Greece and the pipeline that Israel wants to build.
Erdogan telegraphed his intent to the world by converting the Hagia Sophia, once the largest church in Christendom, into a mosque.
Ever since the modern nation state in 1923, that church has, been a museum basically and free for everyone to gather in. Him just making the decision to turn it back into a mosque basically is a indirect kind of communication to everybody. I want to restore our Ottoman past.
After that conversion, Erdogan set his sights on liberating the Al-Aqsa Mosque here in Jerusalem. Then last month he said, in this city that we had to leave in tears during the First World War, it is still possible to come across traces of the Ottoman resistance. So Jerusalem is our city. Frantzman says the regional powerhouses of Turkey and Iran share the same goals.
I think it's just that we have to admit the rhetoric from Ankara today is a rhetoric that looks exactly like the Iranian regime rhetoric. And that's, by the way, exactly what the UAE and other friends, I think, of the US and Israel say, which is that Iran and Turkey are on the same side. It's not the Persian Ottoman Empire, Sunni and Shia. They're both religious extremism. And then there's other countries in the region that are not that.
Erdogan's aggression presents another problem. Turkey is a NATO member, but isn't seen as a team player. Recently, it purchased Russia's S-400 anti-aircraft missile system and aligns itself with the Muslim Brotherhood and Hamas.
It's connected deeply into the European NATO security infrastructure. And I think that presents a huge challenge. And I don't know how countries are going to extricate themselves.
It's a regime seen as hostile to Christians. 2 years ago, Turkish officials convicted and then released American pastor Andrew Brunson on charges of aiding terrorism. Now, Middle East analyst Mike Karam tells CBN News Turkey is closing its doors.
Basically, his goal to cleanse Turkey of all, non-Turkish Christians. Any Protestant foreign Christians that are living, working in the land or involved with the Turkish church at all, they've been declared persona non grata and a threat to national order or threat to national security.
Given its dreams of a neo-Ottoman empire and Turkish nationalism, some believe Turkey might be as much of a threat to the West as Iran.
Christians around the world are standing with the Israelis. But why? In CBN's free magazine, Friends of Israel, you'll discover why Christians are supporting the Jewish state, how Israel is fulfilling prophecy as a light to the nations, and ways you can pray for the people of Israel. Israel needs the support of friends like you. Call now or go to cbn.com to get your free copy of Friends of Israel.
Heavenly Father, we do thank you for the work of your Spirit, Lord God, with this movement of getting the Bible,
yes,
Lord, into public schools.
Watch The Prayer Link, Tuesday nights at 6:30.
Hey, if you're tired and exhausted all day, you can't think clearly, and you really just need a cup or even a pot of coffee to get through your day, then join me, Dr. Josh Axe, for this new series where I'm going to teach you how to transform your diet and use essential oils and supplements to get a better night's sleep.
Protect your sleep and live your best life with innovative information from 5 leading sleep experts.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
Discover a sleep-enhancing bedtime routine, how to put insomnia to rest, learn how to relieve pain that disturbs sleep, and much more in Protect Your Sleep.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 to get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
Don't miss out on this brand new series.
And finally tonight, astronaut Victor Glover says his Christian faith will help him with a 6-month assignment in outer space. Glover is one of the 4 astronauts who lifted off Sunday night in the SpaceX flight to the International Space Station. He told the Christian Chronicle he wants to use his God-given abilities to do his job well and to support his crewmates, the NASA mission, and NASA in general. Well, thanks for watching, Faith Nation. Have a great night.